Welcome to Wealth Hustle 247 podcast, your trusted guide to financial literacy, business innovation, and entrepreneurial success. Learn how to grow your wealth, make informed decisions, and turn your ideas into profitable ventures.
In this AI-generated podcast, we dive into the 7 essential laws for business success and wealth creation. Discover timeless principles that drive sustainable growth, profitability, and long-term financial achievement for entrepreneurs and professionals alike.
Welcome to the deep dive. Forget all those overnight success stories you see plastered everywhere online.
Yeah, they're mostly myths anyway.
Exactly. Today, we're really focusing on the real engine of lasting achievement. In business, in wealth building, those fundamental principles, often unseen, that just keep things working year after year.
That's right. I mean, the story of sudden breakthroughs, pure luck. It's exciting, sure. But underneath any success that lasts, you'll always find people sticking to these core ideas. We're here to kind of pull back the curtain on those.
And our guide for this is a piece called 7 Laws for Business Success and Wealth Creation. It lays these out as, essential and connected. Like a blueprint, really, for building something solid. Our goal is to unpack these laws, get the nuances, and see how you can actually use them wherever you are in your journey.
It's about giving you a framework, something that holds up regardless of the latest market buzz or industry trend.
So let's jump right in. Law number 1, the law of purpose. Okay, let's get into this.
Oh, okay.
It's more than just like a fuzzy idea, right?
Yeah.
It's that deep why. Why are you doing what you're doing?
Exactly. The source says without that clear purpose, even if you succeed, it can feel, empty. Yeah. Look, profit keeps the lights on. It's the lifeblood.
Yeah.
But purpose, that's the compass. It gives you the drive, the grit to push through tough times. And it acts like a magnet.
A magnet.
Yeah, attracting the right people, employees, customers, people who connect with your fundamental reason for existing. And interestingly, a clear purpose, it can actually sharpen your focus strategically.
How does it do that?
Well, if you really know your why, it makes saying no easier, So those shiny objects, those opportunities that might look good short term but don't actually fit.
Right, they don't align.
Exactly. And the source mentions that purpose-driven companies often show more resilience. I mean, think about it. When things get hard, that shared purpose can really hold a team together.
That makes a lot of sense. The document gives some great examples. Apple, he's Steve Jobs. It wasn't just about selling computers.
No, not at all.
There's that underlying drive, that mission to empower people through tech, to make tools that weren't just functional, but beautiful, intuitive.
Or look at Tesla. Obviously, they sell cars, but their core purpose is bigger, right? Accelerating the shift to sustainable energy, that vision. It fuels their crazy innovation. It pulls in investors, customers who buy into that larger mission.
It's like the profit almost becomes a side effect of chasing that bigger thing.
It can feel that way sometimes. And Patagonia, their whole Save the Planet thing, it's not just marketing fluff.
Definitely.
It shapes their supply chain, their repair programs, everything. And that creates this incredibly deep bond with their customers. So yeah, it's purpose shaping actual business decisions, not just feeling good. It's a strategic edge.
Okay, so how do you actually define this purpose? The source talks about vision first, that picture of the future you want.
Yeah, like painting that ideal end state. What does it look like when you succeed?
Got it. Then the mission.
That's the day-to-day, the practical actions you take every single day to move toward that vision. It's the how. How are you going to make that future happen?
And values. Those are the lines you don't cross, the guiding principles.
Your internal compass, exactly.
Yeah.
They guide how you behave, how you make decisions along the way. And what's cool is the source doesn't just define these. It suggests, practical tools.
Like what?
Like making a vision board, actually visualizing that future, or mapping out your purpose, seeing how it all connects, doing exercises to really clarify your core values so everything aligns.
So it takes it from this abstract idea, purpose, to something you can actually work with, something concrete. Okay, let's dive into number 2, the law of value creation. Seems obvious, right? You got to offer something valuable. But what's underneath that?
Well, the core idea is that money follows value. It's a trailing indicator. It's not just about making something. It's about solving a real problem or fulfilling a real desire and doing it effectively, uniquely.
You mentioned the intensity of the need or want. Can you expand on that?
Sure. Think about needing, say, basic food versus wanting a fancy meal at a Michelin star restaurant.
Okay.
Both involve food, right? But the value people perceive and what they'll pay is wildly different. The source talks about needs like shelter, basic stuff, versus wants aspirational things, the new iPhone, whatever. But it's often the depth of that want, the emotion tied to it, that drives big value.
So it's not just what people want, but how badly they want it.
That's a huge part of it. And the document pushes you to actively look for market gaps. Don't just sit around waiting for a brilliant idea. Observe. What are people complaining about online? What trends are emerging? Where are needs not being met or desires being underserved?
So maybe less about inventing the next big thing from scratch and more about finding a gap and filling it better or differently?
Yes, exactly. Which brings us right to product market fit. It's not enough to have a cool product. It needs to hit home with a specific group. People who are actively looking for your solution because it solves their problem clearly better than anything else.
The examples help here. Airbnb saw people wanted maybe more authentic travel, cheaper travel.
Yeah.
And they solved the problem of pricey, impersonal hotels. What's another angle there?
Well, think about how they tapped into assets that were just sitting there, spare rooms. They basically created a whole new supply chain out of thin air.
Right.
And Zoom, especially lately, right? They nailed the need for reliable, easy remote communication. What made them pop?
Simplicity.
Stability.
Exactly. Those were huge pain points with older tools. And Canva, they made design accessible. Suddenly, anyone could create decent-looking visuals. That fulfilled a massive want. They didn't invent the need for graphics. They just made the solution drastically easier and cheaper.
Okay. And the source gives us tools for this part, too. Yeah, things like design thinking really getting inside the user's head. The value proposition canvas mapping out exactly how your thing meets their needs. And, crucially, customer feedback loops. Always be listening. Always be refining.
Okay, so purpose is the why, value creation is the what. Law number 3, the law of leverage. This makes me think of like multipliers, doing more with less.
Exactly. We all get 24 hours. That's the fundamental limit. Leverage is how you break past what you alone can do in that time, how you amplify your impact. The document breaks it down into 5 types.
Let's run through them. Time leverage, using your own time smarter. Money leverage, using capital to grow. Technology, huge one. Automation, scale. People leverage, building teams, delegating. And knowledge leverage, using other people's expertise.
Right. And what's really powerful is how these can stack up, how they interact. Like you invest money in tech.
Yeah.
That automates tasks, which frees up your time, which you can then use for, I don't know, more strategic thinking.
That connects to the 80-20 rule, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. The Pareto principle. Roughly 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts. So leverage is partly about finding that critical 20% and pouring your resources, your amplified effort there.
How do you find that 20%, practically speaking?
Well, often it involves looking hard at what you do and what actually moves the needle. Which tasks generate real progress? Which clients bring in the most value? You track things. You look for patterns. Where's the highest return on your energy? The document also makes a really important point about delegation versus abdication.
Ah, yeah. Delegation is trusting someone with clear expectations, support. Abdication is just dumping it on them.
Pretty much. Just washing your hands of it. Leverage isn't about avoiding work. It's about smart allocation of resources, your time included. The case studies show this really well. Uber, they use tech and a contractor model, right? Built a giant transport network without owning fleets or employing drivers in the traditional sense.
Massive leverage. And YouTube, they leverage tech to give millions of creators a platform, amplifying individual voices like never before. It's built on leveraging user content.
Totally. And Amazon Web Services, AWS. Classic tech leverage. They provide the back end, the servers, so thousands of other businesses can scale without building their own expensive infrastructure. They're selling leverage as a service.
Okay. And the tools mention things like leverage maps, outsourcing sites, automation software. These give you practical ways to start applying leverage yourself.
It's about shifting your mindset from doing everything to orchestrating everything.
All right. We've got why, what, and how to amplify. Now, law 4, systems and scalability. This feels like building something that can outgrow you.
Exactly right. The source is pretty blunt here. If your business needs you directly involved all the time just to function, it's a trap. Not really a scalable business, it's a bottleneck. This law is about designing it like a system, something that can run and grow more independently.
And that involves systems thinking, seeing the business as like interconnected parts. Operations, marketing, sales, finance, customer service, all working together.
Yeah, think of it like designing a machine. Every part has a job, and they all need to mesh smoothly. That's where SOPs come in, standard operating procedures.
Documented processes.
Exactly. Writing down the best way to do recurring tasks so it gets done consistently no matter who's doing it. Takes the reliance off individuals.
Creates predictable results, even as you grow or people change.
Precisely. And then you need measurement. KPIs, key performance indicators. How do you know if the machine is working well? You track metrics for each key part, identify bottlenecks, areas for improvement. You can't manage what you don't measure.
What's the big difference between a business with systems and one without?
Oh, night and day.
Yeah.
Without systems, it's chaos. Reactive, error-prone, totally dependent on the owner putting out fires.
Right.
With systems, it's more proactive. Efficient, resilient. The examples are classics. McDonald's. Agree or disagree with their food, their system is genius. Every detail ensures consistency. Everywhere.
What's a less obvious win from their systems?
Maybe how easy it makes franchising.
Yeah.
And training new staff super fast. That's key to their scale.
Makes sense. And Starbucks. Standard drinks, service routines. They scaled massively, but kept that recognizable brand feel.
Yeah. And the tools mentioned flowcharts to map processes, CRM systems for customer stuff, SOP templates. They give you tangible ways to start building these systems. It's about moving from, frantic activity to controlled growth.
It's the classic idea of working on your business, not just in it.
That's it. Exactly.
Okay, halfway point. Law 5. Financial intelligence. This isn't just make money. It's understanding the language of money.
Absolutely. The source basically says money flows to those who get how it works. And a really fundamental piece here, the difference between cash flow and profit. Why is that so critical?
Because you can look profitable on paper, right? But if you don't have actual cash to pay salaries or suppliers next week, you're sunk. Cash flow is the immediate reality.
Exactly. Profit is backward-looking, an accounting thing. Cash flow is real-time movement. Then the source lays out 4 pillars of financial literacy: budgeting, saving, investing, debt management. Basic building blocks personally and for the business.
What's a common hang-up with budgeting?
People think it's about restriction, deprivation, but really, it's about control. Knowing where the money's going so you can direct it intentionally.
Gaining control, not losing freedom.
Right. And understanding financial statements, the income statement, balance sheet, cash flow statement. They're like the dashboard and diagnostics for your business's financial health. They tell the story. The document also talks about an asset mindset versus a liability mindset. How does that play out?
Well, an asset puts money in your pocket, like rental income, dividends.
Oh.
A liability takes money out like a car payment, consumer debt. So focusing on acquiring assets is how you build wealth over time.
Spot on. And the source lists different ways to do that. Wealth building vehicles, stocks, real estate, owning businesses, digital assets are big now too. The case studies are people known for this stuff. Robert Kiyosaki, big on financial education. Warren Buffett, the master of long-term investing.
What's a common thread in their approach?
Maybe that focus on learning continuously. And patience. It's not about get-rich-quick schemes.
Right, the long game.
Definitely. And the tools, financial calculators, budgeting apps, investment platforms, they empower you, the listener, to get hands-on with your own finances.
It's about shifting from being passive about money to being, informed and active.
That's the goal.
Okay, next up, the law of relationships and influence. This feels fundamental. Business is people, right?
Absolutely. The source drives this home. Success or failure often hinges on relationship quality with customers, partners, employees, even competitors sometimes. It introduces this idea of social capital. What does that mean to you?
Sounds like the value you build up through trust. Goodwill. Yeah. Having a strong network where people help each other out.
Precisely. It's that bank of positive connections you can draw on. The document also talks about strategic partnerships. What makes a partnership strategic?
It's got to be more than just like a simple transaction, right? It's about combining strengths, finding synergies where you both achieve more together than you could alone.
Exactly. Complementary strengths, shared goals, and mentorship gets highlighted too. Both sides of it. Getting guidance from people ahead of you and also sharing what you know with others coming up. It's a powerful loop.
Building winning teams is in here too. Hiring for values and culture fit, not just skills. Why is that so crucial?
Because skills can often be taught, but shared values. A good cultural fit that creates collaboration, boosts morale, it makes the whole operation stronger, more sustainable.
Right. And then influence and branding. How do they tie into relationships?
Well, your brand is basically your reputation lived out loud. Influence is your ability to connect, persuade, lead. Both are built on consistency, authenticity, delivering on promises. That's what builds trust. That's what strengthens relationships.
And the source mentions specific platforms for building influence. LinkedIn, YouTube, podcasts, places to share your expertise, build that network.
Yeah, it all comes back to this. Strong, real relationships are the foundation for anything lasting in business.
All right, last one. Law 7. Consistency and persistence. This feels like the glue holding it all together.
It really is. The source hammers this point. It's the steady, daily grind, not the occasional heroic effort. That's what gets results long term. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
What's the biggest trap here?
Probably getting discouraged too early when results don't come instantly, or just giving up when you hit the first or 10th roadblock.
Which are inevitable.
Totally inevitable. So discipline and habits are key. The document frames success as basically the sum total of small, daily disciplines. And setbacks, they're not failures, they're data. Feedback. Learn from them, adjust. Keep going.
It mentions habits of high performers. Morning routines, goal setting, time blocking, little things, seemingly, but they add up.
They absolutely add up, which leads right into the compounding effect. Just like interest on money, small, consistent efforts, small improvements over time that lead to exponential growth. It's that quiet magic of just showing up, doing the work, day after day.
The final examples really show this. Amazon. Years and years of just relentless focus on the customer, constant innovation. What's key to their consistency?
Maybe just sticking to their core principles, that day one mentality, even as they got huge.
Yeah. And Oprah Winfrey. Think about her consistent presence over decades. That authentic connection, that unwavering vision, built an empire through sheer persistence.
Incredible example. And the tools here, habit trackers, goal planners, journals, they're all designed to help you build that muscle of consistency.
Because in the end, it's about applying all the other laws, purpose, value, leverage, systems, financial smarts, relationships, but doing it consistently,
Yeah,
persistently.
that's the through line.
So as we wrap up this deep dive on these 7 laws, it's pretty clear, isn't it? Mastering them isn't like flipping a switch.
Yeah.
It's an ongoing thing, a process.
Absolutely. A lifelong pursuit, really. Building a great business, creating real wealth. It's not a lottery ticket. It's the outcome of focused, principled, intentional action, applied consistently over time.
This source material, it gives a great blueprint. Hopefully, talking through it has illuminated some of the key pieces. But like the document implies, the real power comes when you put these ideas into action.
So maybe ask yourself, which one of these laws, if you really focused on it consciously, consistently, which one could make the biggest difference for you right now? Where could applying these principles yield, maybe, surprising results down the road? It's in that deliberate, ongoing work that real, lasting success is built.
That's it for today's episode of Wealth Hustle 247. Be sure to follow, like, comment, and share with others. Keep pushing toward your goals, and we'll see you in the next episode.